Discover the incredible journey of a billionaire and a single mom, a life-changing bond revealed. In the small, struggling town of Maplewood, Sarah sat in her kitchen, its worn wooden table filled with mismatched plates and half-scribbled drawings. It was late, the soft glow of a single lamp flickering like the hope she guarded fiercely for her children, Ella and Max. She wore her exhaustion like a heavy cloak, but their giggles in the next room warmed her heart. The ache of recent loss echoed in her chest, a reminder of the life she'd once known. Outside, life carried on with an odd rhythm. The town murmured about a billionaire returning from Silicon Valley, a man who built his fortune on dreams made of code and bytes. Jake walked the familiar streets, a place once filled with memories and laughter now reduced to shuttered storefronts and wistful stories. Despite his wealth, he felt an emptiness gnawing at him, a longing for connection amid the flash of screens and towering skyscrapers. Returning home stirred something in him, a longing for authenticity, an inexplicable pull toward the family struggling, just like Sarah S.'s fate would have it. The local community center, a sanctuary for families, hovered on the brink of closure. With a lump in his throat, Jake decided to step in, feeling the weight of Maplewood's hardships. He proposed a hefty donation to save the center. The reception was mixed. Many cheered his generosity, while others scoffed, their bonds of resilience tangled in a web of pride and resentment. Upon hearing of the donation, Sarah felt a pit forming in her stomach. The thought of accepting help from a man like Jake, whose wealth represented the very disparity she loathed, twisted her resolve. "We don't need his pity," she said aloud, though the thought echoed around her kitchen, feeding her anxiety. The warm tremors of small-town whispers filled the air. Is his help honest, or just a publicity stunt? The buzzing chatter mirrored Sarah's inner turmoil. And yet, amidst the clamor, curiosity sparked. She didn't trust him, but there was something in his eyes when they met, a shared understanding of burden. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With the threat of the center's closure looming, tension crackled in the air. Sarah's pride warred with necessity, simmering like a pot almost ready to boil over. Days turned into uneasy exchanges between her and Jake, each reluctant yet drawn together. Bonds began to form, reminders of shared hopes for their children, a common thread that stitched them together in the shadow of struggle, but whispers soon morphed into judgments. Accusations of favoritism in the community bubbled up, turning voices against each other. Social divisions blared, creating a chasm that threatened to swallow them both. It felt as though the very fabric of Maplewood was unraveling, and in a town that thrived on community, they were the unlikely pair caught in the middle. Just as they began to bridge the gap, fate dealt a cruel hand, shaking the ground beneath their feet. As Sarah leaned against the kitchen counter, tears welling in her eyes, she wondered if she could ever trust him or anyone with her family's future. A chill of uncertainty swept through her. Was there room for connection in a world so divided? The question hung heavy in the air, begging for answers just as the town's fate teetered on the brink of chaos. The early morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting a golden hue over Sarah's kitchen. She stood there, the warmth against her skin offering little comfort. The laughter of Ella and Max floated through the house, a sweet reminder of innocence untouched by the turmoil outside. Yet, as she moved through the motions of breakfast, her mind was plagued with doubt about the community, about Jake, and about the future of her family. At the community center, the air was thick with tension. Families who relied on its programs were grateful for Jake's donation, yet they remained suspicious of his motives. On the other side, people whispered harshly, their voices laced with resentment. "He thinks he can just waltz in and solve our problems with money," one neighbor spat, arms crossed defiantly. As much as Sarah wanted to dismiss those comments, she couldn't ignore her own skepticism. Their interactions had been brief but telling. Each time she caught Jake's gaze, a flicker of genuine concern flashed across his face. but her heart hesitated at opening up. Could he really understand the depth of her struggles? Doubt wrapped around her like a vine, slowing her breath. Meanwhile, Jake sat alone in the center's empty meeting room, staring at the peeling paint on the walls. The memories of laughter and joy echoed faintly. He had hoped for so much more than this. The night he made the offer to help felt like a moment of clarity, a chance to connect again, to give back in a way that truly mattered. But with every closed door, he felt the weight of his fortune strangling his intentions. Was he really just that out-of-touch billionaire, or was there a deeper part of him yearning for connection? Incensed by the community's backlash and racked by his own insecurities, Jake decided to hold a meeting, publicly addressing the concerns of Maplewood. He wanted to lay everything bare to show them his heart, not just his wallet. The day of the meeting arrived. Sarah stood outside the center, her stomach in knots. Ella and Max were with her, staring up at their mother with wide, innocent eyes full of questions. As they entered, she noticed the buzz of anxious chatter filling the room. People were drawn together, a mix of hope and resentment stirring in the air. Jake stood at the front, his expression serious but warm. He opened his mouth to speak, his voice steady despite the storm brewing outside. I know my wealth can make people wary. Believe me, I understand the desire for independence, to fend for your own. But I also understand the weight of responsibility when you see your community struggling. His words washed over the audience like a cool breeze. I'm not here to take away your pride, he continued. I'm here to invest in a future for all our kids. The way I see it, it's not about me giving you money. It's about what we can all achieve together. As Jake spoke, Sarah's heart raced. Somewhere in his speech, she could feel a shift, an opening that she hadn't anticipated. Could it be possible that Jake truly wanted to forge a bond? But the murmurs began again as community members exchanged doubtful glances. Not everyone was convinced. Suddenly, a voice shot through the crowd, a woman stepping forward with arms crossed, challenging Jake's sincerity. And why should we trust you? She spat, eyes blazing. Just as Jake was about to respond, Sarah felt a surge in her chest, a deep desire to stand up for him. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward. Would she truly put her trust in him after all? Or was she just about to let her guards down for someone she barely knew? The tension in the room peaked, all eyes turning to her. As she began to speak, she felt the frail line between necessity and pride weave tighter around her heart. Would she be willing to trust the very person who stirred both hope and fear within her? Sarah's voice trembled as she faced the crowd, her heart pounding in her chest. For a moment, all the anxious whispers faded. She took a deep breath, drawing on the strength of her children standing beside her. I can't say I know Jake well, she started, her gaze sweeping over the familiar faces of her neighbors. But I've seen what he is trying to do. We all have our scars. We're all fighting our battles. The crowd shifted, some nodding, while others remained unconvinced. Jake's expression softened, gratitude flickering in his eyes. He may be rich, but that doesn't make his heart any less real, Sarah continued. I know many of you worry about what his money means for us. But what if we could take that money and turn it into something good? Something we can build together? We all have dreams for our kids. I believe he wants to help us chase those dreams. Max grabbed Sarah's hand, squeezing it tight as Ella peered up at her mother with bright eyes. Sarah's voice grew stronger, fueled by the trust bubbling just beneath her anxiety. Jake has shown us that he believes in the potential of this community. Isn't it worth giving him a chance? A ripple of conversation swept through the crowd. Skepticism still hung in the air, but some looked intrigued. Jake stepped forward, encouraged by Sarah's words. Thank you, Sarah, he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. I can't change our past, but I can promise to listen, to learn, and to work alongside you. I want to earn your trust, not just as a benefactor, but as part of this family. At that moment, a man in the back stood up, his face lined with years of hard work. And what if we don't see changes? He challenged, his voice heavy. What if it's just empty promises? Jake met the challenge head-on. I hear you. And that's why I want to establish a committee, a group that includes community members who can keep me accountable. Transparency is key, and I'm here for the long haul. Sarah felt a shift, the tension in the room loosening its grip, if only slightly. There was a flicker of hope, a sense that maybe, just maybe, they could forge a path together. But doubts still simmered beneath the surface. Would they trust Jake completely? Would he truly stand by them, beyond the initial excitement? As the meeting continued, Sarah listened closely, her heart torn between the hope Jake inspired and the skepticism of her neighbors. She could see some people beginning to nod, but fear still hovered in the air, uncertain and delicate. As the conversation deepened, a few committee members stepped forward, intrigued. Others remained defensive, unwilling to let go of their distrust. Sarah watched the dynamic shift. This was not just about Jake anymore. It was about the spirit of Maplewood, about unity and healing. In that uncertainty lay the possibility of change, the very thing she had feared the most. When the meeting finally concluded, people began to disperse, but not without exchanging looks filled with cautious curiosity. Sarah lingered for a moment, her eyes searching for Jake. He was scrolling through his notes, seemingly lost in thought. "Hey," she said softly, and he looked up. "You did well." "Thanks, Sarah," he said, a hint of relief washing over his features. "But it's just the beginning, I assent it." Her heart sank slightly. Suddenly, she felt the weight of her next decision pressing down on her. Would she continue to fight for what could be, or retreat back into the safety of doubt? As she glanced at her children laughing with the other kids, she realized she was at a crossroads. Ella tugged at her hand, pulling her toward the door. "Can we go home, Mom?" she asked, unbothered by the tension that lingered. But Sarah hesitated, her thoughts entangled with the uncertainties ahead. She was about to step away when she caught Jake's eye again. His expression was calm but earnest, as if he could see right through her. "Maybe we should grab coffee?" he suggested, a small, hopeful smile on his face. Her breath caught. She could feel the flutter of something new. Was it fear, anticipation, hope? With her heart racing and her mind swirling, Sarah realized this moment could either draw them closer or lead her right into deeper uncertainty. Would she take a chance? "Okay," she finally whispered. But as she turned to walk with him, doubt flickered like shadows in the back of her mind. Could she trust him? Could she trust herself to navigate this unpredictable path? And as they stepped outside into the sparkling sunlight, Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The question remained, would they truly be able to break down the walls that surrounded them, or would they be destined to remain apart, united only in their hesitations? The cafe buzzed with life, the tantalizing aroma of fresh coffee mingling with the rich scent of pastries. As Sarah and Jake found a corner table, her heart raced not just from the excitement of the bustling shop, but from the weight of what this meeting could mean. Jake slid into the seat across from her, the sunlight casting a warm glow on his face, softening the edges of his imposing presence. He was just a man, after all, trying to do his best, but there was still so much uncertainty ahead. So he began, swirling his coffee. "What's on your mind?" His question lingered in the air, drawing in Sarah's hesitation. She observed him closely. His hands weren't just looking to be busy. They were searching for connection, just like her. What if her voice faltered for a moment? What if this all falls apart? People are counting on you, on us, and I can't shake this feeling that we might let them down. Jake leaned forward, his eyes serious, yet warm. "I get it, Sarah. Trust is fragile. It's easily broken. But what if it leads to something incredible?" There was a sparkle in his gaze that made her believe he really wanted to try. "Maybe I'm just being naive," she admitted, biting her lip. "I've seen hope slip through my fingers before." "Then let us do something different," he said, his voice earnest. "Let us set small goals. Something tangible. We can build trust step by step." Sarah felt her heart open just a little. Here was a man, grounded by his ambition but wanting to meet her on common ground. That connection mattered. What about community meetings to keep everyone informed? She offered, the idea swirling in her mind. Like a monthly check-in? It might help them feel involved. Jake looked impressed. "I love it. It's a way to share progress, listen to concerns. Let people feel they have a hand in this." A spark of hope flickered inside her. The vision of Maplewood united, thriving started to take shape. Maybe Jake was right. Maybe they could make a difference together. And the kids, she added impulsively, her thoughts spilling out. We could think of programs for them. Art classes, sports, something that brings the community together. Jake smiled, and the corners of his eyes crinkled in delight. "Now you're talking. Imagine how much that would empower them. It's not just about the money. It's about investing in lives." As their conversation flowed, Sarah found herself laughing, imagining a brighter Maplewood unfolding through their efforts. A sense of anticipation filled the air. But beneath the exciting possibilities, an unease lingered. Could their shared dreams withstand the pressures of real-life expectations? The thought cut through her momentary elation. And if things don't go as planned? What if the community turns against you, against me? What if we fail? The words fell from her lips, raw and vulnerable. Jake considered this, his brow furrowing. If we fail, we learn. Together. As long as we're open and honest about our steps, we can adapt. His confidence was infectious, and a flicker of hope ignited again. It was more than ambition. It was the commitment to take risks together. Just then, Ella rushed into the cafe, her laughter ringing as she ran toward them, hand in hand with Mac's mom. "Look what we found," she exclaimed, holding up two bright, painted rocks. Sarah's heart melted at the sight of her children, moments like these giving her strength. They were her heart, her motivation to forge ahead, to battle doubt, and create something beautiful. "Can we be part of what you're doing?" Max asked, looking between Sarah and Jake with wide eyes, filled with innocent enthusiasm. Jake's face brightened. "Absolutely. You guys are essential to this. What we create is for everyone, including you too." An unexpected warmth enveloped Sarah. Here were her kids, who could inject joy into any plan. And here was Jake, encouraging that very spirit. But as laughter spread through their table, a whisper stuck in her throat. Uncertainty nagged at her. Could they hold on to this? Would the vision being painted remain vibrant amidst challenges? As they shared ice cream sundaes, the world felt alive with possibility. But her mind kept racing, pondering the challenges they would face. "Maybe we can build something beautiful," she thought, searching Jake's eyes, feeling the electricity of an unexpected partnership. Just then, her phone buzzed, pulling her attention. It was a message from a neighbor with questions about the meeting. The weight of reality crashed back around her. As she glanced at Jake, she noticed that his own weight of responsibility seemed to press on him too. Would they be able to sustain this newfound connection amidst the pressure? And, more importantly, could a community bonded by hope withstand the storms of doubt? The answer felt just out of reach. But as she looked around at her children, at Jake's encouraging smile, a flicker of faith ignited once more. Maybe this was what they needed, one step at a time, grounded in trust. And as they held on to this thread of hope, the next chapter awaited, filled with challenges that could either shatter their dreams or elevate them to new heights. What would come next? Would hope prevail, or would the shadows of doubt close in once more? The cafe's chatter faded into the background as Sarah read the message from her neighbor. The words blurred in and out of focus, urgency seeping into her chest. They wanted details, assurances about the meeting, and a sense of direction. The anxiety gripped her tighter. Could they really pull this off? Jake's voice broke through her thoughts. "Everything okay?" He leaned in, his brows slightly knitted. She nodded but felt a lump in her throat. "Just a lot of questions. I didn't think it would hit me like this. I want to get it right." Jake offered a supportive smile. "It's normal to feel this way. Everyone's invested in what happens next, and we're in this together. Let us take a breath." His calm presence soothed her nerves, if only slightly. She thought about Max and Ella at the table, their laughter a joyous bubble that felt too fragile in the face of impending responsibility. "What if I let them down?" "Then you learn, and we adjust," Jake reassured her, a glimmer of determination lighting his eyes. "We're not looking for perfection, just progress." Sarah found comfort in his words. It was the promise of growth that fueled her spirit. "Okay, but those meetings, what if they start pointing fingers instead of coming together?" Jake chuckled lightly, trying to break the tension. "Then we learn to handle fingers. The first step is to have the meeting and get the ball rolling. Let us think about it like teaching those kids how to ride their bikes, right? They'll fall, but eventually, they'll learn how to ride." "Maybe it's also about the balance," Sarah said, smiling nervously. "Not just talking, but listening. Understand their fears, their hopes." "Exactly. Everyone wants to be heard," he replied, his confidence spilling over. "Let us work on a solid presentation, something that shows them the vision and how they fit into it. We can even start with a fun icebreaker." "An icebreaker? Really? For a serious community meeting?" She raised an eyebrow, questioning his approach. "Why not? Lighten the mood first. Show them this isn't just another meeting. It's an opportunity." She couldn't help but chuckle. You may be onto something there, Jake. Their conversation flowed again, ideas bouncing from one to the other, like shooting stars across a vast sky. They spoke of bringing in local talents, inviting the community to share their stories, and maybe even featuring their small businesses. Deep down, Sarah could feel the mountain of doubt start to crumble. But as the laughter and brainstorming continued, the weight of expectation loomed larger. With every plan they laid out, the fear of failure nudged at her, whispering, what if it doesn't work? Was it too much to hope that a community could unite? As the evening wore on, Jake looked more like a partner than a stranger who had stumbled into her life. She could see that he cared, not just about the project, but about her and her family too. Together they were starting to weave a tapestry of possibility for Maplewood. Mom, Ella interrupted, tugging at Sarah's sleeve, snapping her back to reality. Can we help with the meeting? Sarah smiled at her children's enthusiasm. Of course. You guys can bring the ice cream. Laughter bubbled up again, dispelling some of the tension. Max chimed in, excitement in his voice, and I can make the signs. Maplewood, together we rise. Jake shot Sarah a glance, a silent agreement passing between them. This is for them, he said softly, as if reciting a mantra. Yeah, Sarah murmured, feeling a blend of fear and exhilaration stitch itself in her heart. For our kids, and for Maplewood. But as night descended and the cafe emptied, a chilling thought pierced her mind. Would they be enough? The glow of the streetlight flickered outside as she took a deep breath. They were on the brink of something grand. But could hope really spring forth amidst uncertainties? Jake looked out the window thoughtfully. It's like planting a seed. You don't know how it will grow until it gets the right nourishment. As Sarah gazed into the depths of the night, doubt and excitement danced in tandem. Would they nurture that seed together, or would it wither under pressure? The question lingered, pulsing like a heartbeat. Their journey was only beginning, but what awaited them just beyond the horizon? Would the winds be in their favor, or would clouds of doubt gather as they ventured forth? The meeting day dawned bright, an almost ironic backdrop to the storm of emotions roiling within Sarah. She stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her blouse, feeling like a cliché of nervousness. Max and Ella were already buzzing with energy, their laughter echoing through the house as they prepared the ice cream and the makeshift signs. Mom, can I help with the stickers? Max's voice floated in from the kitchen, his enthusiasm a stark contrast to her racing heart. Sure, buddy. Just don't eat them. She called back, forcing a smile as she buttoned her blazer. Kids had a way of grounding her, reminding her of the bigger picture amidst her swirling worries. When she finally stepped outside, the sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. It felt hopeful, but doubt crept in on her shoulders. What if the community didn't show up? What if they scoffed at her ideas, shot down her hopes? She clutched the folder of notes tightly, as if it could somehow shield her from rejection. Jake was already at the community center, arranging chairs and adjusting the sound system. Seeing him immersed in the task brought her a sense of calm amid her chaos. Looks good, she said. Approaching him, he turned, a grin spreading across his face. We're ready to rock this. You okay? Yeah. Just ready to make a difference, you know? She took a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of possibilities. Then let us give them a reason to be excited, he replied, his confidence infectious. As the clock ticked closer to the start time, attendees trickled in. Faces she recognized, and some new ones warmed the room. The energy shifted from nervous chatter to anticipation, and for the first time, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they could do this. Welcome, everyone, she called, her voice stronger than she felt. Thank you all for coming. Today is about us, our community, and crafting a brighter future together. A murmur of approval rippled through the crowd. Ella and Max stood proudly by her side, holding the signs. Encouragement spread like wildfire, igniting Sarah's spirit even brighter as she shared her vision. Weaving through the challenges and hopes of Maplewood, she felt the crowd leaning in closer. Much to her surprise, she saw nods of agreement and sparkles of excitement flicker in their eyes. Even the most skeptical faces softened. Maybe this wasn't just her dream, it was theirs too. All right, let us break the ice. Jake jumped in, prompting laughter and easing the room's tension. He led them through a light-hearted activity, urging them to share their favorite local traditions. As voices rose, joy replaced anxiety, and they formed connections that seemed to bind the room together. But just as it felt like they'd reached a turning point, an elderly man stood up. What about the financial issues? Who is paying for all this? The smile on her face faltered. She had prepared for enthusiasm, not this. A ripple of acknowledgement passed through the gathered group. She sensed a collective holding of breath. The whispers climbed. Doubt began to coil around her hopeful mission. Great question. Let us address it, she said, scrambling to gather her thoughts. We aim to involve local sponsors and grants. This is about us coming together, sharing resources, ideas, and dreams. We'll make it work. And yet, uncertainty lingered, an ominous cloud hovering over them as discussions continued. Sarah felt the pressure mount. Encouraging words flowed, but were met with skepticism. It was then she realized her dream wasn't just about rallying support. It was also about bringing people together through shared fears and aspirations. She needed to connect, to ground their worries into the vision of shared hope. Max, sensing the shift, raised his sign high. Together we rise, he exclaimed, his small voice ringing clear. The room paused, a heartbeat, before laughter erupted, breaking the tension. The sincerity of his optimistic proclamation made Sarah's heart swell. And in that moment, surrounded by laughter and light, Sarah caught a glimpse of the truth. They were more than just a community. They were a family, stitched together by dreams and doubts. But as night fell and they wrapped up the meeting, a lingering question nagged at her. Had they truly planted the right seeds for growth? Or would her efforts be overshadowed by looming questions? Jake caught her eye as people began to leave, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. She wished she could read his mind, knowing that their journey together was just beginning. What would their next step be, and could they truly turn this flicker of hope into a blazing reality? The days following the meeting felt like a blur for Sarah. The excitement that had gathered during the discussion lingered like a sweet aftertaste, but shadows of doubt crept in on the edges. She busied herself with the kids, throwing herself into their lives as a way to distract from the questions that nagged at her. Did they really want to make a change? Was there enough momentum to push this project forward? One evening, she stood in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for a stir-fry. Max and Ella were sprawled on the floor, surrounded by crayons and paper, blissfully engaged in an art project. Their laughter filled the space, pulling at the corners of Sarah's lips, until realization hit her once more. Was she truly doing enough? Max ran over, beams of pure joy radiating from him as he presented his artwork, a colorful depiction of their town, complete with smiling sun and spreading trees. Look, Mom, this is you leading the meeting, he said, excitement bubbling out of him. It showed her standing in front of the community center, and beside her, he had drawn himself and Ella, each with little capes flapping in the wind. And look at us. We're all superheroes. The warmth that washed over her felt mixed with a pang of sadness. Superheroes, huh? She murmured, kneeling beside him. You know, heroes are the ones who really believe in something bigger. Just like you, Mom, Max said, his sincerity hitting her straight in the heart. If only she could feel half as certain about her path as he seemed to. Yeah? She smiled, her heart swelled with a blend of pride and worry. Then I guess we all need to wear capes. Later that night, after the children were tucked into bed, Sarah sat at the kitchen table with her folder of notes open before her. She needed to strategize, to delve deeper into the questions that had surfaced. How do they secure the funds? Who were the local leaders she could reach out to? Determination fueled her as she scribbled notes into the margins. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Jake. Hey, great meeting. Let us grab coffee tomorrow and brainstorm next steps. I think we can make this happen. A rush of warmth filled her. She quickly typed back, yes, looking forward to it. But the anxious knot in her stomach tightened. Coffee meant conversation, a time to dive deeper and expose plans that felt delicate, still in their infancy. As she clutched her coffee mug the next morning, his contagious enthusiasm was like a lifeline. Sarah, the energy at the meeting was incredible. You have something special here, Jake said, leaning across the cafe table, his blue eyes shining with excitement. I've been thinking, what if we start by throwing a small community event? Something fun, where everyone can get to know each other better. An event? She blinked, her mind racing with the logistics. Now, with everything still so uncertain, Why not? It's a chance to build bridges, right? To show them why this matters. He insisted, his excitement energizing. Examine risks. Challenge the familiar. The words echoed in her mind. She bit her lip, contemplating the idea. Would the community feel motivated? Could this be the turning point? Before she could respond, a voice called out. Hey, isn't that Sarah? They turned, and there, stepping toward their table, stood the elderly man who had questioned her at the meeting, Mr. Peterson. Sorry to interrupt, he said, a friendly smile on his face. I wanted to talk to you about that meeting. You made some good points. I may have a few contacts who could help. Could this be a sign? A way to bridge the gap? Heart pounding. She looked at Jake, then back at Mr. Peterson, reminded that help could come from the most unexpected places. Let us talk, Sarah said, her hopes rising. The conversation between them sparked something new. With each suggestion from Mr. Peterson, ideas formed like clouds growing bigger overhead. By the time they parted, Sarah felt the weight of possibility resting comfortably on her shoulders. But as she prepared to leave the cafe, a question hovered in the air: were they truly ready to embrace the challenges ahead? Or was this just the beginning of confronting their community's fears? And just like that, her mind was swirling again, painted with colors of hope and uncertainty. She needed to make a decision, and fast. Would this spark turn into flame, or fizzle out before truly igniting? The following days moved swiftly, like leaves caught in a brisk autumn wind. Sarah felt buoyed by the meeting with Mr. Peterson. His encouragement was a lifeline, reminding her that she wasn't alone in this endeavor. But each morning, as she brewed her coffee, a familiar surge of doubt snuck its way into her mind. Was her vision clear enough? Could they pull off an event that truly united the community? Determined to make progress, she flipped through her notes again, picturing the event in her mind. Bright banners flapping in the breeze, kids running around with ice cream cones, neighbors chatting and laughing. Images filled her head, but reality soon crept back in. She had no idea where to start. Relying on Jake and Mr. Peterson was comforting. But what about the rest of the community? Max and Ella watched their mother's furrowed brow with a mix of curiosity and concern. They had begun instinctively tiptoeing around her, sensing the weight she carried. One night, as Sarah tucked them in, Ella whispered, "Mom, are you going to be okay?" "Of course, sweetheart. Just a lot on my mind," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. But inside, she felt like she was balancing on a tightrope, high above a pit of uncertainty. The next morning, with a fresh resolve, Sarah decided it was time to reach out beyond her comfort zone. She sent a flurry of emails to community leaders, local business owners, and friends. She called in favors from those she thought could assist, all while checking her phone every few minutes, heart racing with anticipation. When Jake texted back later that day, the message lit up her screen like a beacon. "Let us meet. I have some ideas on who to get involved. I really think this could happen." Their meeting was electric. They sat outside a local cafe, sunshine warming their skin as they bounced ideas off each other. "How about we partner with the local schools?" Jake suggested, his enthusiasm infectious. "They could help with logistics. The PTA would love to get involved." Sarah nodded, imagining parents, busy but willing, eager to contribute. The notion wrapped around her like a warm blanket. With every suggestion from Jake, a flicker of possibility ignited in her heart, gradually dispelling the shadows of doubt. "Let us go bigger," she declared. "What if we host some workshops during the event? Maybe art, cooking, or even gardening sessions. We could highlight what makes our community unique." "Now you're talking." Jake grinned, his eyes sparkling. "This could be the change you've been dreaming of." They brainstormed late into the afternoon, diving deep into details. The fear of failure still loomed, but the veil of anxiety began to lift like fog chased away by sunlight. Sarah felt alive, empowered by the notion that this was more than just an event. It was a movement, a chance to change their community for good. As they wrapped up their meeting, Sarah's phone buzzed again. It was a message from Mr. Peterson. "I'm excited to see where this goes. I mentioned the event to a few friends, and they're on board to help." She felt a rush of exhilaration wash over her. The momentum was building, like a wave about to break. But as she glanced up at Jake, a sudden thought crashed into her mind. Was she ready to lead this charge? What if the pressure proved too much? "The more we involve others, the stronger we become," Jake assured her. And you don't have to do this alone. We're in this together. Sarah smiled, feeling a flicker of courage ignite within her, but it only half erased her doubts. Deep down, a nail-biting question remained: what if their plans took shape, but the community still hesitated? As they parted ways, she clutched her folder tightly, aware that this was merely the beginning. There were so many layers to peel back, so many hearts to win. The weight of anticipation settled in her stomach, a reminder of all that was at stake. What would be revealed when the community finally came together? Would their collective fears dissolve, or might they find hurdles she hadn't anticipated? The weeks rolled on, and the excitement began to buzz in the air like a beehive. Sarah found herself swept up in the preparations, the community's pulse syncing with her own. Each day was filled with checklists, meetings, and a flurry of phone calls. The more people she reached out to, the more the dream transformed from a mere idea into a tangible event. Jake was her constant companion, and they powered through tasks like a well-oiled machine. They visited local businesses, secured donations, and collected supplies. As they walked through town, Sarah soaked in the snippets of conversations, a couple discussing the event over lunch, or a group of children eager to showcase their talents. This was happening. This was real, but the reality brought its own set of worries. One evening, while they were reviewing vendor options, Sarah felt a wave of anxiety crash over her. What if they didn't have enough volunteers? What if logistical issues sprang up? The fears gnawed at her, leaving her restless. She glanced at the clock. It was late, and she was only half finished with her preparations. Want to take a break? Grab some ice cream? Jake suggested, noticing her furrowed brows. Not sure it will help with the to-do list, she replied, though the corner of her mouth quirked up. Sometimes we need to step back before leaping forward, he urged gently. After a moment's hesitation that felt like the weight of her decision pressed down on her chest, Sarah relented. They strolled down to their favorite ice cream shop, the familiar shop window glowing like a beacon in the night. The smell of sugar and fresh waffle cones was warm and welcoming. As they sat licking their cones, Jake shared stories of his own struggles, the ups and downs of building his business. Sarah listened, captivated. Behind his confident demeanor, there were shadows of self-doubt and fear that mirrored her own. Honestly, I did not think I could take on the financial pressures of starting something new, he confessed, his eyes focused on his melting cone. But I pushed through. Sometimes, you just have to have faith that it will all work out. His words struck a chord deep inside Sarah, like a missed note finally restored in harmony. Faith that's hard for me, she admitted. There's just so much at stake. I want this to matter. Then make it matter, Jake said, looking directly into her eyes. You're already on the path, remember? Just by bringing people together, you've already started to make a difference. She took a deep breath, letting his words sink in. Maybe it wasn't about having all the answers right now. Maybe the journey itself was worth every worry and doubt. Returning home that evening, she felt lighter. The night enveloped her, and as she tucked Max and Ella into bed, she shared Jake's story of resilience. Ella's eyes sparkled with admiration, and Max's head bobbed in understanding. We need to be brave, just like Jake, right? Max chimed in, a proud grin on his face. Yes, honey, Sarah whispered, her heart swelling. Just then, her phone buzzed with another message from Mr. Peterson. Heard back from the school district. They're on board for workshops. An electric thrill shot through her. Everything was coming together. And yet, what did on board really mean? Would the community embrace the changes? Or would they shy away? Unsure about stepping into an uncertain future, Sarah's heart raced. While she felt hope start to bloom within her, a hidden fear lingered. Was she ready for all the excitement and uncertainty that lay ahead? Was their dream about to break free, or would it crumble under the weight of expectations? As she slipped into bed, the weight of possibility pressed close, enveloping her in a mix of eagerness and dread. She closed her eyes, reminding herself, this was just the beginning. Tomorrow would reveal new challenges, new victories. The true test awaited just around the corner. Would the community embrace her vision, or was there more hidden beneath the surface? The day of the community event dawned bright and hopeful, the sun spilling golden rays over Maplewood, bathing the town in warmth. Sarah stood at the window, watching as the last-minute preparations unfolded outside. It was a sight that filled her with equal parts excitement and dread. Max and Ella raced around, their laughter infectious, bringing a sense of joy and normalcy to the chaos. She hoped the day would reflect their hard work, their dreams materializing in colorful banners and smiling faces. At the community center, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Families streamed in, mingling under vibrant decorations as children dashed to the games that had been set up. Sarah's heart swelled as she watched her kids jump into the fun, their carefree spirits reminding her of why all this effort mattered. "Hey!" Jake's voice broke through her thoughts, grounding her in the moment. He appeared beside her, hair a bit tousled from the wind, yet his grin was reassuring. "Looks great, doesn't it? It's amazing," she exclaimed, feeling a surge of gratitude towards him. Together, they had created this space, a sanctuary for laughter and community spirit. But as she turned to face the crowd, anxiety tugged at her heart. What if it all fell apart? As the event kicked off, she took a deep breath and gathered the crowd's attention. "Welcome, everyone," she called, a shaky excitement in her voice. "Today, we're celebrating each other, our shared dreams, and the strength of Maplewood." The gathered crowd responded with cheers and applause, filling her with hope. With each smile exchanged, each laugh shared, tension dissipated like mist in the sun. But just as she began to revel in the connection, a familiar voice cut through the joyful noise. "We're glad to be here, but what is actually going to change?" a neighbor asked, arms crossed. The question hung in the air, a stark reminder of the challenges they still faced. Sarah's heart raced. But then she felt Jake's reassuring presence beside her, grounding her. "That's a valid concern," he said, stepping forward. "Change takes time, but we're committed to being transparent and honest as we move forward." His words ignited a ripple of dialogue. As people spoke up, exchanging their hopes and concerns, Sarah recognized that this was the heart of the effort, the community coming together not just for celebration, but to engage, to build trust. "Let us work together," she chimed in, feeling a newfound clarity. "We're creating programs and workshops where everyone can share their talents, their voices. This isn't just about us, it's about Maplewood as a family." The energy in the room shifted. Some still hesitated, but others nodded, offering smiles and encouragement. As Sarah and Jake weaved through discussions, her confidence blossomed, feeling the evolving sense of community swell around her. Later on, with Ella and Max by her side, they led an art workshop. Children's laughter filled the room as crayons flew across paper, bright colors filling the pages. "Look, Mom, I made a giant sun." Max beamed, holding up his creation. "This place is magic," Ella exclaimed, as she added glimmers of glitter to her masterpiece. In moments like these, it felt like dreams were beginning to take flight. As the event drew to a close, Sarah felt a sense of duality within her. Joy brimmed at every corner, yet the weight of responsibility pulsed at the back of her mind, reminding her that this was just the beginning. They had made a splash, but how would they sustain the momentum? "Thank you all for coming," she called out once more, her voice ringing with sincerity. "Let us keep this conversation going, keep the spirit alive." A round of applause echoed back, and for the first time, Sarah felt a wave of trust wash over her, blending fears with hope. But as the crowd began to disperse, laughter still fresh in the air, one lingering thought haunted her. Was this truly enough? Just then, Jake leaned in, catching her eye. "Did you see those smiles?" His voice, full of warmth, anchored her to the moment. "Together, we sparked something real here." His words ignited a glimmer of fulfillment in her chest. "Yeah," she breathed, her heart swelling as she took in the scene. "Maybe this really is the start." In that moment, surrounded by vibrant energy and the warmth of her community, Sarah realized that they were stronger together than she had ever imagined. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, failures, and moments of doubt, but it was a path worth walking. As she glanced around at the gathering community, her spirit ignited with resolve. They would embrace the journey together. Hope, it seemed, could indeed rise within the ashes of uncertainty. And with newfound faith, Sarah understood that they were not merely individuals. They were a family bound by dreams, laughter, and an unyielding spirit. This was it. Their transformation was just beginning, and she was ready to embrace every moment. Before this journey ends, don't miss your chance to be part of something incredible. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire change. Hit that like button right now to feed the algorithm. We need you to spread this positivity. Let us know in the comments how this story has touched you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Together, let us continue to inspire hope and community.